Okay, I want to talk about the concept of gratitude, the energy of being grateful. It's like most things along these lines. We mindlessly speak the phonetic symbols strung together as words out of our vocal cords at someone else, or even like I'm doing right now, into a recording device. And those phonetic symbols that we turn into meaning via language is supposed to mean something when we hear them put in a certain order or a certain inflection is put upon it to imply that we mean what we are saying in a certain way. Because, of course, you could pick any word and say it 100 different ways with different inflections and tones inserted into it to mean different things to the perceiver based on what you were intending to convey. This is where people get really confused about things like sarcasm, thinking that that is comedy. It's funny to be sarcastic. No, you're actually being very detached from reality when you are sarcastic. It's no accident that all of the media, in every way that you can construe that phrase, including YouTube, is based in sarcasm when it comes to what is viewed as funny, what is popularly funny. They all rely on sarcasm because it detaches you from what you are supposed to be. And seeing this like moths to a flame, we all crowd around the light. We are drawn to it and we mirror what has been reflected back to us. Anyways, getting back to gratitude, another example of this is how we all use the term thank you mindlessly. Now, if you want to look at it innocently, we could say that this is just having good manners. We use please and thank you, sir, ma'am, when we're talking to people, just as a way to have a pleasant interaction, to respect those around us. Respect their time, energy, and attention when it is interacting with our own time, energy, and attention. And you say, please, thank you. Yes, sir. No, sir. But even if you view it in the way that it's just good manners, I hope you see how it is robotic in nature. If that's the case, if that's the justification that we are going to use for it, well, that's robotic. I'm saying thank you in the same way that the dogs salivated when they heard the bell in Pavlov's experiments after a while. It's a learned response that eventually becomes subconscious. It starts happening without my thought. Somebody does something that I know based on what I have learned requires use of the term thank you, and I say thank you. It's not that I don't mean it. It's not that I'm not genuinely thankful for whatever they have done. It's just the action that I took saying that phrase is the robotic programming that I have been given. We do this with I love you as well. There are millions upon millions of males and females all around the world simultaneously saying the phrase I love you to their significant other as I'm speaking right now, whenever you're listening to this. That's how ubiquitous the phrase is. And of course, most of these people will be in a relationship with each other, and it is a learned robotic behavior once you reach a certain stage in these detached relationships that we all have with each other. But my point, of course, is that does saying that phrase mean that there is objectively what we would refer to as love between those two people. Or any kind of relationship, father-son, mother-daughter, sister-brother, teacher-student, athlete-coach. Any kind of relationship you can imagine is capable of developing what we might refer to as love as a result of the interaction. But obviously there's a huge disconnect between the phonetic symbols, the letters that spell the word love and mean a certain thing in our minds when we say them, and actual love. The disconnect is between what we say and what is true. And as a result, a phrase like "I love you," in theory the most important energy that there is available to human beings in this place, love, gets to the point where it doesn't really mean anything. It's the same as saying thank you after you pick up an order of food, because you have been robotically programmed to do that in that situation. That's what I mean. In modern relationships, people have been robotically programmed to say the phrase "I love you" once they reach a certain point in the relationship, as meaning, oh, we are official now. Whether it's romantic or it's a connection that elicits appreciation. A connection that draws out appreciation. And that appreciation is the impulse to express love. In that way, appreciation is synonymous with love. It's a derivative of it. Indeed, you could say, "I appreciate you," and it would have a very similar meaning to saying "I love you" to someone else. So everyone talks about becoming awake, becoming more aware of what's going on here in this place, whatever it is. And due to the influences around us, we robotically view that as acquiring information about what has transpired here in the past and what is likely to transpire here in the future. Details, dates, names, places, organizations. But none of that has anything to do with actually being awake, being aware in the way that I am describing it here. Being aware of how what you are saying, the very thoughts created in your mind and then expressing themselves out of you, are not only not your own in a lot of cases, but more importantly, do not match what your actual intention is. Love is truth, and if you're lying to yourself in this way, you both do not love yourself or anyone else, and you are nowhere close to the truth. Embodying what it means to be true as an individual being. And I learned this lesson in a very difficult way over the past 3 years through a violent, I would call it, vitamin B12 deficiency. It was brutal. But I learned the difference between an expression of gratitude and actual gratitude. I truly learned the difference between the two. Now, I had caught glimpses of this in the past. The best way I can describe it would be how you feel when you break a long fast from food. For example, one time I did a fast. I had only planned it to be around 4 days. Nothing extreme. I like to keep them short in that way. And I get to the 4th day when I was going to end it, and I was feeling really good for some reason. Usually you're feeling a little weak and you're ready to end it. But in this particular case, I was feeling pretty good, and I thought, let's push it a little bit. I'll go a few more days. And I ended up getting to day 10. And at that point I thought, okay, I'm going to break the fast now. And as anyone experienced in doing this should tell you, you don't want to break a fast with something heavy. You want to make sure you're taking in very light things with a high water content, and fruit is really good along those lines. So I grab an orange, which is one of my favorite fruits. I take the rind off, I cut it up into little pieces. I'm robotically going through the motions of what I usually do when I have a snack or I'm preparing a meal. Having the same thought process, even though it's been 10 days since I actually had any solid food at this point. And it's not until I sit down and take a bite out of the first piece of orange that I picked up to where I'm just flooded with appreciation for food. I mean, I couldn't believe how good the orange tasted in that moment. It was incredible. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, I really take food for granted. And indeed, it becomes a stressful thing from time to time. You're constantly thinking, especially those of us who are very aware of what we put in our bodies, we're constantly thinking about the next meal because we're preparing all of them for ourselves. We're not buying them. We're not going out and getting it somewhere else. So you have to plan and prepare things in advance, and it's constantly on your mind. And in that robotic cycle of planning, you completely lose touch with how incredible it is to just have these taste buds and taste something as delicious as a ripe orange. And in that moment, you have true appreciation to the very depths of your soul for this orange, this one orange that you have been blessed to be able to eat. And that's where you learn the true difference between gratitude and, let's say, platitude, right? The platitude is saying thank you for something because that's just what you've been programmed to do. Again, even if you mean it, it's still not the real thing, saying thank you. This is where we get the phrase, actions are louder than words. Indeed, that's what it is. Your intent is louder than your words. And that's how we can tell the difference between people who are genuine and people who are not. Because the people who are not genuinely intending to express truth are not capable of faking what those of us who are actually doing that are capable of doing. And so it really sticks out. It's obvious. But I hope you see that you can get sucked into the trap of losing yourself in the process of exposing those types of people or putting those types of people in their place. If you get sucked into that kind of energy, you really lose your way. Do not let yourself get trapped under the weight of lies. They will consume you even if you are trying to point them out. Because the energy surrounding lying is exactly what I'm talking about here. It is programmatic. It will trigger everything that has been programmed within you along those lines to fight, demean, belittle, be petty, extremely mean thoughts about what should happen to someone else. Do you really want that type of thing poisoning the very essence of your being? And you don't realize those kind of things until you have an experience like I'm talking about, where you fast for 10 days and you taste a ripe orange on the 10th day and you have the epiphany moment. Oh my gosh. I thought I was grateful for things in my life, but no, I was totally distracted from true gratitude because that's what I'm experiencing right now. And that is a key to transcending what is going on in this place. We could all spend the rest of our lives, every waking moment, detailing what is going on here. And as they say, if you look into the abyss too long, it looks back into you. It infects you in that way. And I am by no means suggesting that you should just ignore everything around you. No, of course not. It's about finding that balance between knowing what is going on, being able to explain it to someone else, but not simultaneously losing yourself in the process. Giving your energy away to it by letting it influence how you act and conduct yourself and how you feel on a moment-to-moment basis, which should be awe for everything around you, regardless of whatever else is going on. And in that moment where I ate that orange, I was in awe of life. Oh my gosh, how lucky am I to just have this experience of tasting this incredibly delicious thing. Wow. I was not appreciating my food before this moment. And of course, it's like everything else. This is the problem. You have that transcendent moment where you truly understand gratitude, and then slowly over time, you have more meals, you have many oranges, you have many different kinds of foods. Especially as an American, where you're spoiled with being able to eat food whenever you want. Lots of places in the world, not like that. But to my point, take one of those people from another part of the world who doesn't currently have that advantage, place them in America for 5 years, and watch them act exactly like you do towards food. Because that's the problem. That's what I'm getting at here, is when you are so accustomed to something being available, you take it for granted. You get used to it. And you lose touch with what it means to actually be grateful for that thing being in your life at all. But anyway, I truly learned gratitude in a way that I never could have with this B12 deficiency that I experienced. I have a homework assignment for you. Look down at your right leg and command your neurological system to fire the muscles to just lift your foot up so that it's parallel with your quad. Just your leg straight out, sitting down. And then you can put it back down. I was not able to do something as simple as that for 3 years. And I did it along with you there, and I was sort of able to hold it. We're getting there, but not quite there 100%. And so when you experience something like that, where you're truly taking for granted the ability of your muscles to function correctly, and that is taken away from you, well, now, of course, I'm appreciating my body just being alive and functional in a way that I never was before that happened. And who could blame anyone for being like that? Of course we take for granted that our body works. It's worked our whole lives. We have no reason to even think about it until it's taken away. And that is what it is to become truly aware, to become awake, to embody the truth. Understanding these types of things without the trauma that takes it away and makes you realize it. And this is the whole idea behind humbling yourself before God. Understanding that you are nowhere near it without it taking your life away. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because of course, when everyone leaves this place, leaves their body, and becomes aware of what is actually going on, of course, then you would fully appreciate what life was. It reminds me of a Dave Matthews lyric. I can't believe that we would lie in our graves, wondering if we had spent our living days well. I got to give a shout out to Dave Matthews, because whether or not he's a part of this system in some way, shape, or form, he red-pilled me originally when I was 13 years old, 14 years old, whenever it was. Whenever I got Under the Table and Dreaming, that album red-pilled me. It began the process. It was planting those seeds that would later become something. Regardless of whether or not you actually like the music, the lyrics are insane. Take your actual life away to the point where you're out of your body, well then yeah, you're truly appreciating it. And more importantly, then you are truly realizing just how much you weren't a god on earth, right? That's when you would have that realization. So the whole point of me getting into this is that the truth is a derivative of appreciation that you must learn how to see without something being taken away from you in some way. And this is where, as you get better and better at this, you start to truly appreciate the people in your life, the things in your life, whatever it is, anything that you come into contact with. And that appreciation is undeniable. And that appreciation blossoms into what we might call real love for yourself and everything around you. Because you cannot believe how impossibly lucky you are to be in a functioning body, experiencing all of these incredible things. And I'm well aware of all the horrible things that are happening on this planet on a daily basis, on a minute-to-minute basis. But none of those things would stand a chance of continuing if everyone was embodying the energy that I am describing right now. Do you understand what I'm saying? It would be impossible.